Perfect. Welcome to Little Shorts with Manny, Johnny. It was a little bit of a battle to get here, but we're here now, and it's glad to chat with you in kind of person,
Yeah,
finally.
you too. Long time coming, I think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, um, for those of you who don't know the band on my shirt, can you tell us a little bit about your band, Radar Theory? Like, how did you get together in the first place, and maybe why the name?
Yeah, so radar theory is really the product of what I had been trying to do since I was a kid, in forming a band. And I just never seemed to kind of connect with the people who were interested in doing the same thing as me, which was just being a rock and roll band. Um, we have a lot of subgenres out there, and it seemed like I was always running into someone who wanted to do something that was very specific. And to me, I'm like, I just want to play rock and roll. And so it took a long time, but about 4 years
Right.
ago, I finally met some guys who were kind of in the same boat as me. We were all kind of victims of COVID in the sense that a lot of bands didn't make it back from
Yeah.
COVID. And so the four of us got together.
Mm.
I kind of was leading the charge, which was a first for me because I was kind of picked up by other people, but I let them know what I was wanting to do, and they all were like, "Okay, let's do it." And so it started from there. We knew to
Right.
get gigs
Right.
and get an audience, we needed to play covers, even though that really wasn't what we had in mind. But we did that. We kind of played the game, if you will,
Right.
um, and that's how we kind of got our following
Mm-hmm.
started. The name Radar Theory really came about
Right.
just out of us not being able to agree on what to call the band, and everybody threw an idea out. The other ones would veto it. No, I don't like that. I don't like that. And so I made a comment one day that I said, well, I feel
Right.
like we're flying under the radar. And I said, but that's too long of a band name. I don't like really long band names. And then we all just started spouting off different things with the word
Right.
radar. And somebody said theory. I don't even remember who said it. And we all just were like, that's good. Let's go with that.
Mm-hmm. So you talked a bit about playing covers, and I know that's not every band's favorite thing to do, but I was actually talking to, I forget who it was, some other band this week, and they said that cover bands make more money than original bands. Is that
Oh,
true
yeah, yeah. I
in
think,
your experience?
yeah, oh, absolutely. And we definitely, not putting down anyone who does it because I do know people who make a very good living playing covers.
No,
But yeah, I mean,
for sure.
and that's what everybody kind of tells you to do. They always, it's kind of like, play, you should
Is
play
it?
what people know. You should play what people know. And I understand that. And I think you also have to be conscious
Mm,
of the venue you're playing, right? Some places, they only want a band who plays cover
right.
tunes. Another place, they encourage original music and up and coming artists. And the audiences typically are aware of that when they walk in. So everybody is usually on the same page with that. But, you know,
Mm,
um, like I
right.
said, we had a kind of I should say we had an idea of what we wanted to do. And, as much as we love playing other people's music and we have fun doing it, we also never had aspirations to be the world's greatest cover band. It was just kind of a means
Right.
to an end to kind of get to the point where we're at now.
And what is that point now? I know that you've kind of evolved a lot and had, a little bit of tragedy with the loss of one of your early band members. Can you tell us about that and how you still managed to move forward and kind of where you are now in
Mhm.
terms of the evolution of your band?
Yeah, yeah. So our original singer Eric Becker, um, he had a very rare form of cancer. And I will never forget the day he started complaining of chest pains, back pains when we were rehearsing. And a few nights later, we had a show, and he was having a hard time, and he thought he had pulled a muscle in the gym or something like that. And we actually cut the show short by about 4 or 5 songs because he just couldn't go on. And we were also in the process of
Right.
looking for a new bass player. And when we started having conversations in our little text group chat about looking for the bass player, Eric um, got back to us one night in the middle of the night, and I'll never forget. I woke up the next morning to a message that he was in the hospital. And long story short, they found that he had cancer. He went in for emergency surgery. He went through chemo, all the things that come with it, and we basically were ready to put the band on hold. But it was Eric who said, "Keep going, don't stop, stick to the plan." And so We did. We found another bass player. We kept kind of jamming without Eric. Um, Eric's thought was that way when I come back, we'll be just ready to just like pick right up. But unfortunately, after close to a year of that, Eric was going back and forth. One minute things would be great, the next it would come back, and then um, he finally just made a decision that he was going to step away, and that was very hard for me personally because Eric was someone who really brought out the
Mm.
best in me musically and just as a person. He's he was someone who just made you feel good about yourself, whether it was in a band, whether it was just sitting having a beer with him or a cup of coffee. But
Mm.
reluctantly, we did move on. And fortunately, we did find a great singer whose name also just happened to be Eric. And Eric Becker, of course, gave his
Wow.
endorsement, even though he joked that maybe he was a little biased because the guy's name was Eric. But um,
Right.
we kept up. He was very supportive of what we were doing. And then it was right after Christmas in 2023, a few days after I remember I texted him on Christmas, "Merry Christmas, I love you." He responded, and then a few days later, his wife called me and told me he was gone, and I was floored.
Wow.
Um, and I think in some ways Eric was protecting us by not necessarily
Mm.
telling us everything. Um, and
Right.
that was just who Eric was. So losing Eric
Hmm.
definitely was
Hmm.
something both just as a person that was very hard on me and the other guys. But we also now see what we
Hmm.
do is how we honor Eric. Eric didn't want us to stop, and I
Right.
know that I have a picture of Eric taped to the front of my amp now. And whenever we have gigs, if something starts going wrong, I turn
Right.
around and look at it, and I'm like, "Hey, a little help," and it usually works.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. And it's nice that you have that memory of him and you kind of, I'm sure, draw on, get some inspiration from memories of him and that kind of thing. So he'll be forever a part of you and your band, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. I always think about when you lose someone, you think about the
Oh yeah,
positive, right? Instead of the kind of tragedy associated with it. And so I think you're kind of with me on that with this picture and all that. So it's a nice little
yeah.
memento, I
And now,
guess. Yeah.
even
I like
the
that.
things we do now, I always kind of ask myself at times, what would Eric think of this? Would he be into this? Would he think it's a bad idea, a good idea?
Right.
And sometimes I can,
Yeah.
I can hear him. I can hear his voice. I can hear what he would say. He's whenever I play him something, if you like, he always say the same
Cool.
thing. "Hey man, that really slaps." That's what he always would say when he likes something. So
Okay.
sometimes I would
Yeah.
wonder, does this slap?
Cool. A lot of the stuff that I've seen you do does slap, in fact. So you've sent me a few clips of you jamming out some covers and some original stuff. And it sounds really good. And I know that you're a big Eddie Van Halen guy. Tell me a little bit about his influence on you and who else kind of inspired you to pick up the guitar and start playing music.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely um, a lot of guitar players. I mean, it would take all day for me to probably spout off everybody I can think of. What's really funny
Right.
is that when I was coming up and learning guitar, the music that was really the most popular music at the time was not the music that moved me to play guitar. I liked it, but it just wasn't what made me want to play guitar. And I actually have to give a lot of credit to my father, who he's not a musician, but he's a music lover. And as a kid, I used to love hopping
Right.
in the car and just going anywhere with my dad because he would always crank up the classic rock station. And that was where I got my
Nice.
introduction to a lot of people like Cream and Zeppelin and Aerosmith and Sabbath and, the Eagles, a wide range
Mm-hmm.
of musicians as
Mm-hmm.
well. But when I heard Van Halen for the first time, and I mean, really listened to Van Halen, this was their best of album. So I'm not like a lot of people who was like, I remember where I was when Van Halen 1 came out. I was, you
Right.
I was a glimmer in someone's eye in 1978. So I wasn't around for that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when I did hear it, it didn't matter that it had already been out for years. It was brand new to me and it changed. I don't think it's exaggerated to say it changed my life because I was a kid. And,
Mm.
when you're a kid, you're into all kinds of things and you don't know what you want to do. And I was into
Yeah.
sports and drawing and writing and everything. But when I heard that, all I cared about at that point was playing that guitar. And the influence was bigger than just trying to play like Eddie Van Halen. I started building my guitars. I started reading every interview I could find with him just to kind of pick his brain. And this is pre
Yeah.
YouTube, pre just being able to get on the internet and do all that stuff. So I had piles of guitar roll
When you had to do actual
yeah,
work to get research done, you had to work at
yeah, yeah.
it.
And I have piles of guitar roll magazines just sitting in my room with interviews with him and others. And but Eddie's definitely probably number one. But there were several others I got to mention, particularly the one we just lost, Ace Frehley. He definitely had
Mm,
his own sound too, just like Eddie, different than Eddie's. But Ace just had something about him that I really loved. And I hear a lot of Ace in my own playing sometimes. It's funny because people know I love Eddie Van Halen, but when I listen to my own playing, I actually hear more of Ace than I do of Eddie. But
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and I look at other players I love. Like I said, Joe Perry, Jimmy Page, Joe
Mm,
Walsh, and Don Felder. I loved that idea of the wire choir in Eagles.
hmm
Like I said,
hmm
so many. And what I realized when I look back at the players I love, because they even go later on into players like Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains, Tom Morello, Rage Against the Machine,
mm,
um, Billy Corgan, Smashing Pumpkins. Like I said, I could go on, but what I found all those players have in
yeah.
common, and it was probably what drew me to the guitar to begin with, was they had this swagger about them. And I remember I've always been fascinated by guitar since I can remember. And I remember as a kid, to me, a guitar was like an Instagram filter, meaning you take a picture of me right now, and it's just like, okay, it's just this guy. You put a filter on it, all of a sudden it's like, oh, who's he? That's how I saw the guitar originally.
Right.
If you had a guitar in your hand, you must be cool.
hmm
So I think that's
Right.
what drew me to those players. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden I started paying more attention with my ears than my eyes. And that's what really, really drew me to those players. And to this day, going back to Eddie Van Halen, my main two guitars are Frankensteins that I built myself. I've never bought an electric guitar off the rack.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
I probably have a few bucks. I maybe could afford to go buy a guitar, but it's kind of like I followed Eddie's lead in that respect, and I'm happy with my guitars.
hmm
And I enjoy the journey of taking them apart and putting them back together. Again, his inspiration reached me more than just in the music. It was the guitar itself and all the things you can do.
hmm
So
Right. And so there's something to that though too, being totally immersed in your craft from the creation of your own instrument to the playing of it and then the creation of your own music. And so
mhm.
tell us a little bit about your songwriting or your music creation process. Like what does that creativity look like for you when you're starting a new project?
It's really, I tell you, I think I've come full circle from when I was younger and writing to where I am right now. When you're a kid, first starting out, or not just a kid, just when you're first starting out and you're playing, of course, you're learning other people's music. You're learning the styles of people that you are a fan of. And so it's easy to write songs that sound just like
Mm-hmm.
yours. And I probably did that early on. And
Right.
I realized what I was doing. And I intentionally then started trying not to write songs that sound like them, but then, now you're trying that. And so what ultimately I realized was, I was like, I have to stop trying
Right.
so hard. And so the process for me became
Okay.
simply just sitting down with my guitar and not really thinking too much about it. Just let my hands just kind of do something, if whether it was just strumming some
Mm-hmm.
chords, whether it was exercising my fingers, just to keep my fingers loose. And then sometimes
Mm-hmm.
you stumble into something and you're like, oh, well, that's interesting. And then it just kind of snowballs from
Okay.
there. And it doesn't always mean it's good. Because there's plenty of things that I've
Right.
come back to and listened to that in the moment I thought were great. Then the next day I'm like, what was that? Delete. But it always opens doors
Right.
to the next idea, and you start kind of, even the music now that Radar Theory is working on. I'm pulling from sometimes old ideas and taking, well, maybe I'll take this chorus in this solo, and so you're kind of meshing it all together into something that's still what it was, but also
Mm-hmm.
brand new. And at the end of the day, hopefully better than it was when you first wrote it. And so that is ultimately
Mm-hmm.
it. I kind of just let the guitar lead me instead of the other way around.
Right. And then who's your sounding board? So you have a little bit of introspection there
Mhm.
and you wait and you kind of go back and look at it again. But then who listens to it? Like, are you your own worst critic, or is everything that you write good to you and then you wait for someone else to kind of be like, no, man, no.
I'd say a little column A, a little column B. A lot of times
Yeah.
obviously the first people I always bounce anything off of is the band. I'm like, hey, what do you guys think of this?
Right.
And there are moments when they are less enthusiastic about things, and I'm going, okay, and that's okay
Right.
because I want that. I want
Yeah.
their honesty, and and all that. Um,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're more enthusiastic than I expect, which is nice. But other than, outside
Hmm.
of the band, I bounce off my wife, my friends, like sometimes I'll be in the
Hmm.
car with somebody. I'll,
Hmm.
hey man, listen to this, and I'm sitting there, and sometimes it's
Right.
just the guitar track, and I'm like, but the drums would be like, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, I turn into a little kid, and that's the thing that I think is
Hmm.
beautiful about music. I still feel and have that same fire in my belly that I had when I was 14 years old. It doesn't go away. I think my parents thought it was a
Hmm.
phase. It's not a phase. You find out sometimes that's
Right.
just who you are.
Right.
And so, really the sounding
Right.
board is anybody who's willing to listen. And then I'm just kind of sitting there, kind of, I hope you like it. And
Yeah.
like I said,
Yeah.
people tell me, they tell the truth, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You don't even have to ask them for their opinion, right? Like, if you put stuff out there, people will let you know. You talked a little bit about admiring guitarists' swagger, or the fact that it just kind of seems like they have swagger when you have a guitar. How do you describe your performance style? Are you the showman? Are you like the Eddie Van Halen? Or are you more kind of like the quiet type on stage?
No, I am definitely the hey, look at me type. Um,
Okay.
when people come to see you, even if they're not coming to see you, you just tell yourself these people are here for us. So
Right.
I've seen plenty of bands that I thought were good from a technical standpoint, but they weren't interesting, if that makes any sense. To
Yes.
me, I can't, and I guess maybe it's because I can't relate to it as a guitar player or as a musician. I can't relate to playing, whether it's my music or someone else, is something that just really is great and really makes people just move and not moving too. Um,
Mm.
that's always been
Hmm.
something that I just like. I
Yeah.
can't stand. I'm like move around a little bit, when I see other musicians do it. So,
Right.
you know, I, I, I'm
Yeah.
I'm that guy. I am excited. I'm smiling,
Hmm.
and I think it's because I've spent so long trying to get to this point. Which, just to be clear, by no means are we rock stars, but just the simple fact that we have a band and we're playing shows and we're writing music, to
Hmm.
me, that's huge because that's
Yeah.
all I've ever wanted in my life. And so when we're on
Hmm.
stage playing, I can't help it. I'm grinning like an idiot. And when Eric Becker was still
Yeah.
alive, we had a joke about that because a lot of times we'd be playing and he and I would glance at each other from across the stage and just grin at each other like a couple of idiots because we both really valued what we were doing in that moment, whether there was 10 people in the room or
Hmm.
100 people or it didn't matter. And so
Right.
you kind of let the joy, at least for me, I let the joy I have about what I'm doing come out, and then I basically then demand the audience have fun with me, because
Right.
I've gotten on the mic at times and almost been like, come on, it's the weekend, didn't you come to have fun? Come have fun,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
You're not, so
Hmm.
that's what I
Yeah.
mean.
And I
But
think audiences appreciate that too. Like, when you go to a show, you're right. It's not about just listening to the music. Because I can sit at home
mhm,
and watch YouTube or listen to, uh, the radio or CDs or whatever streaming. But it's the experience that most people go
yeah,
for. And so, yeah, we want to see the musicians up there having a good time, whether they're faking it or not.
mhm,
We want to believe that we're at a party with these guys on stage and it's fun and it's all that kind of stuff, right?
mhm,
So, as a viewer, as an appreciator of music, we like that. And so, there's nothing more boring than going and see someone just standing there like they'd rather be doing something else. So, I think you're onto something definitely with that. Can you tell us a little bit about some of your recent or upcoming shows, or are you still kind of in that little the break period with Radar Theory?
So we had taken a break because the idea was, the band started in 2021, and when we came into 25, even with all that happened with losing Eric Becker and other bandmates coming and going, we felt like we were at a point where this year we were going to take a little bit of a little break from playing the live show so we could actually put our energy into our own music. So earlier in the year we played a few shows, and then the plan was to finish the year pretty much, unless anything really really spectacular got thrown out at us. Not that what we get isn't spectacular. I shouldn't say that, but my point being that we were going to put our attention into our own music and not play so many shows anymore.
Right.
In that time, what
Mm-hmm.
happened was our current singer, Eric Torres, he's been in school all along, studying. I don't want to get it wrong. I'm just going to say it's very complex environmental stuff, is what I'll say. But
Okay.
he got accepted to go into a PhD program, and our band is
Oh,
based
nice.
in on
Nice.
the
Good
East
for him.
Coast. Yeah, it's great. Our band's based on the East Coast. The program's on the West Coast, so that means he's going to be
Ah,
leaving us soon. And we knew this. It's not like he blindsided us with this. We knew that this would probably be happening, but we kept kind of just working on stuff. He kept giving his input, but we decided, let's do one more kind of last big send off for him. So in a couple weeks here at a local brewery called Strange Ways, which I've always loved because there's a song by Kiss called Strange Ways. Um, that we're going to do one more, what kind of we're calling it the Eric Torres going away party. And so we're going to be doing that
okay.
in a few weeks, just to give him a send off like he deserves, and maybe
Nice.
hopefully raise a few bucks to
Yeah.
help him with his moving expenses. Um, After
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that, in January, we are having what's called this is actually going to be the second annual Eric Becker Memorial Concert. Um, After Eric passed
Nice.
away, we had started thinking about what can we do to pay tribute to him and everything. And we had done like an impromptu jam at his celebration of life, but we thought, what if we put something more organized together, not just with us, but with other musicians who knew Eric or who know us and all that. And Eric was also
Mm-hmm.
a very big animal lover. And when he passed, his family asked, instead of flowers and all that, we make a donation to our local animal shelters. And so last year,
That's a good idea.
around Eric's birthday at late January, we held the first one, and we had about
Nice.
6 or 7 musicians and bands play throughout the day. We had local businesses donate to raffles. We had Eric's mother ran like a bake sale. So we raised a good amount of money for the local SPCA, and so we're going to do that again at the end of January around his birthday again this year. And that's become something really
Nice. Nice.
huge. That's bigger than Radar Theory. Really, it's the kind of thing that even if we didn't play it, it would still happen, and we'd still, be involved in it as a tribute to Eric. So those are kind of the two big things
Right.
really on
That's
the
great.
horizon as far as shows go.
Right. And you'll be working on new music at all times, I'm assuming. Is that something that like you're prolific with, or is it something that you have to work really,
Yeah.
dedicate time to?
Um, no, I can't help but work on music
Yeah.
whether I
Yeah.
want to or not.
Okay.
What I've learned is sometimes you can overdo it, at least for
Mm.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to trying too hard, instead of letting it naturally happen. Because to me, the best music isn't always the most technical music. It's the music that makes you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And when you try to create something, too deliberately, I think you might lose that.
Right.
So, there's always something going on in here. I wake up a lot of times in the middle of the night and I just hear things in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll grab my phone and like run in a closet and just start going, huh, 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 da, 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 I'll
Yeah.
hum little things into my voice recorder. Um, but there's always something somewhere. I do the dishes and I'm banging on the counter with the forks and the knives. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of interesting.
Do you
So it's like
drive your
whether I
wife
want to or
nuts?
not, I do. I do.
Okay.
Um, I do. She's gotten used to it now, I think.
Yeah.
But even that, there are times where I kind of feel her eyes on me. But I
Yeah.
was always that kid too.
Mm-hmm.
I was the kid who shook the table, bouncing their leg.
Right.
And I did the same. I always did that, and you know, then I realized I need to find the other kids who do that too, so we can
Mm-hmm.
do it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's musicians. That's all we are. You start trying to play rock and roll. Really, you're just a couple of kids who keep shaking the table.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk a little bit about if you could create a super group, and you're in it, of course. Who would the
Oh God.
other members be?
Hmm. I feel like if I'm in it, then it's just an okay group. But thanks for saying that anyway. Um, well, of course, if I'm there playing guitar, living or dead, I guess I'll say too. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
Well,
I would be
anyone,
happy
living or
to.
dead.
Yeah, yeah, I'd be happy to sit there and just be on the same stage playing with Eddie Van Halen,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
Ace,
Mm-hmm.
either one of them.
Yeah.
Um, I've always been a big Motorhead fan. I love
Okay.
Lemmy,
Mm-hmm.
who played bass and sang,
Mm-hmm.
and had a very unique voice. But I also think one of my favorite singers was Freddie Mercury.
Okay.
I just his voice just magic to
Yeah.
me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, gosh, I could sit here all day. I'm just spouting off the first ones that come to me. I bet in 10 minutes from now, I'll be like, oh, wait, I didn't think of. But
Yeah.
yeah, just right offhand, those people, are the ones that come to mind. But
Yeah.
I'm sure there's plenty of, oh, who I really like? Um, God, I can't, Lizzie Hale from
Oh,
Hailstorm.
yes.
Her
Yes. I
voice,
like her too. She's amazing.
it can break windows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was in a prior band to Radar 3, and we had a female vocalist, and she wanted to play Hailstorm's tunes. And I, at the time, was not familiar with Hailstorm. And the first Hailstorm tune I had was actually a cover of them doing Still of the Night by Whitesnake.
Yeah. Nice.
Whew.
Yeah. Yeah. She's quite the
Hair on my
powerhouse.
arms.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's definitely also one of my favorites. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like I said, I could probably sit here all day and just think of
Yeah.
more if we had the time.
Right. And so who are you listening to now? Are you into any new music at all? Do you kind of stay with the
Mhm.
classics? What's on your playlist?
I go back and forth a lot. I just finished actually listening to the new Mammoth album, which I
Yeah.
really enjoyed. Wolfgang Van Halen's project.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'll tell you the truth. This is what happens to me a lot. I'll be on like Spotify or Sirius XM or something, and I'll just go to a station and I'll hear bands that I like, and sometimes and a lot of times, unless I hear them over and over again, I always forget their names. But I hear them, and I'm just like, oh, that's
Yes.
cool. I like them.
Yeah.
I'll put them on my list. And even bands who have been around a while, maybe, but I'm not as aware that they're still putting stuff out. And then all of a sudden, I hear something. I heard something. I don't even know how old the song was, to tell you the truth, but it was
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the Hives, more kind of like an alt rock kind of thing that were really
Right.
popular in the early 2000s. I came across them. I was like, oh, they're still putting stuff out, and it's good. It's actually better than what I remember. Stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then I saw a band actually, and they might have opened for Mammoth if I recall. When I saw them, they were called Blind Love, and they're just good rock and roll band, real good. So
Nice.
I try to just check out as much as I can, but I do come back to the classics. There's a
Yeah.
reason that they call that stuff classics.
Yeah.
It's because it never gets old, and for me, sometimes uh, I pick up things I didn't pick up. Or
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate different things about them that I didn't used to pick up. Especially as a guitar player,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you of course you zero in on the guitar, but
Yeah.
then when you step away from that and you start listening to the other instruments or the vocals or just little things like, oh, I never noticed how good those harmonies were, or something like that. And
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's the beauty of some of that older music, is that you
Yeah.
can hear it a million times and still get something out of it on a million and one.
Right. And there's something to comfort music too, right? Like you like what you like,
Oh yeah,
and you want to hear that. Not that you're, against new stuff, but sometimes you just fall into that. Like, I just want to hear what I know. It's comforting. I like it. I'm kind of like that too. Or I'll take the song that
definitely.
I like and make a station based on that song. The downfall is you kind of hear the
Hmm.
same songs over and over. So I think I'm kind of like you. Every now and then listen to some new stuff, but if I want comfort, I go back to the classics. Johnny, tell us
Yeah,
about
I'm with
where
you.
we can find more information about radar theory. Where's the best place to check you guys out?
All your socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We're on YouTube, but admittedly, we're not as busy on YouTube. The problem we've run into, and this is our own fault, is that from our shows when we've performed live, a lot of times we haven't taken the time to actually get proper videos. We rely on our friends or someone to
Right.
get a video of us, and then we steal it from them.
Yeah.
And oftentimes you hear the person holding the phone recording it more than you hear the band, and it's
Yeah.
wobbly, and you hear, so that's something that's kind of on our we need to get better about list as far as videos go. But definitely heavy on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok.
Okay.
Just just kind of keep everybody in the know that, hey, yes, we were real busy playing shows for the longest time. We're still around. We're still going to be doing things, and
Yeah.
putting up teasers of the original stuff. And we're also very we have a sense of humor. So sometimes we just post silly things just to post silly things.
Yeah. I mean, why
Just to
not, right?
I guess kind of do it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
for
I mean,
sure.
we like to laugh. We like to have a good time, and we take playing music seriously, but we don't take ourselves
Yeah.
ser- too
Well,
seriously, if that makes sense.
yes, I hear ya. I appreciate your humor. I appreciate your music. And I very much appreciate you taking time to chat with me today, Johnny. We had a few technical difficulties, but we made it work. So thank you for that.
No, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you, not just for this, but you promote so many people and just lift them up. And trust me, I
Uh,
mean, every musician needs all the help they can get. So what you do is
yeah,
awesome, and very much on
it's
behalf of
fun. And
everyone, thank you.
thanks, Johnny. I appreciate it.